Welcome to EEK episode 5, where we talk about scary stories and whatnot. Today we are going to go over the story How to Summon the Butter Street Hitchhiker.
All
Let's do
right.
that now and today
Works.
as well, and perhaps we'll do that as well.
Maybe our certain friend that called Booth World, maybe we can convince him to summon the Butter Street Hitchhiker.
I sure hope so. Also, if you have any recommendations for stories, make sure to let us know because there's so many out there and we're not going to find all the good ones. Again, this is called How to Summon the Butter Street Hitchhiker. It is again from r slash no sleep, which seems to be where all of our stories are from, and it's written by Wright Chris Wright with the W variety, as in writing things with a pencil, not as in being correct and or the direction opposite to left. With all stories on here, r slash no sleep, the disclaimer, do not try this at home, is always a given. That being said, I could probably prevent copycats by changing some of the details, so even if you manage to find the right pickup spot, you wouldn't be able to summon the hitchhiker.
Boo!
Boo! But hey, if you're adventurous, go for it. If you follow the rules, it's perfectly safe, but the knowledge you gain may not be. There's an urban legend in my hometown about a hitchhiker on Butter Street that will appear if you follow a series of instructions. Once summoned, you drive him to his destination, and if you play the game right, he'll answer unknowable questions for you. If you play it wrong, well, just don't play it wrong. There's an old gravel pit at the end of Butter Street. The water there is the deepest blue. It's almost like staring into the ocean. That's how deep it is. More than one car over the years has been dredged up from the depths there. Officially, these drivers fell asleep at the wheel, but unofficially, the deaths from cars careening off the road into the gravel pit during the wee hours of the night only added more veracity to the urban legend. They were the poor souls who broke the hitchhiker's rules.
Look, I'm telling you, I've seen an old gravel pit before. There ain't nothing natural about gravel pit water being blue.
Not
That is not correct.
not quite. Usually they're like brown
Yeah, that shit's already supernatural.
with like a Pepsi Zero sugar can in there
Yeah, there's a
floating
couple of
around.
leeches hanging around.
Yeah. I like how this is getting right into it.
Yeah, we're not playing around.
No, we are not. We're absolutely diving in. So far, no one has pinpointed the origin of this legend. I've reached out to the local historical society and searched through newspaper archives in the local library, and I have not found any mentions of the hitchhiker. It's a modern place of folklore, passed around coffee shops and diners in the early morning hours until it eventually made its way to high school cafeterias. It wasn't until someone posted about the hitchhiker on a local Facebook group that people began sharing their experiences in the rules of how to summon him. But as more people shared their experiences, the details about the hitchhiker varied from person to person. His clothes have switched up over the years, growing more modern. His speech doesn't reflect any particular time period either. No mannerisms or 23 skidoo phrases to help date him. Sometimes he's in his late teens, sometimes he's much, much older. Even with those differences, everyone who has claimed to summon the hitchhiker swears that he was real. The only common thread in all of these stories of the hitchhiker is that he's always wet when he enters the car, followed by what were his first words to the driver. It's a bad night for rain. He's country, by the way.
Okay, yeah, he's got
That
a
is,
little twang.
he's got a hell of a lot of twang. To which you apply, is there ever a good night? He laughs, and that's when you know you're playing the game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I should go back to how I got him in the car. Okay, so he's in the car.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, all right. So we're
good.
on what, page 2 of our little document
Yeah,
here, and he's
and I
already
double
in the car.
spaced this thing, so that's like page 1.
Yeah, this is like the first paragraph basically.
I need larger margins to read, or else I'll freak out. The game starts by turning your car on at exactly midnight. Where doesn't matter, only when. And once the car is on, you can't get out, nor can you let anybody else in. Just you and your car at midnight. What comes next is a lot of waiting, because you have to be at the pickup point on Butter Street at exactly 3 a.m. That's right, 3 hours in the car. Those are the rules. With 3 hours to kill, a lot of people show up early and cruise the roads so they can time getting to the pickup spot at exactly 3 a.m. But as the urban legend grows in popularity, the local police will pull you over if they see your car circling back and forth down Butter Street more than once. The local cops all know the rules, so if they pull you over, they'll turn it off your car and make you get out of the vehicle, thus ending the game. On the night I decided to summon him, I filled my car up at the gas station at 11:45, then went in and took advantage of the facilities to ensure I would not need to make any pit stops before 3 a.m. Then I waited in the parking lot until it was exactly midnight and started up my car. I should add that it does not matter what kind of car you drive, but a four-door car is preferred over a two-door or a pickup truck. You don't want to look directly at the hitchhiker, not till the end of the trip. That's much easier to do if he's sitting in the back seat versus sitting beside you. I drove in a big loop around the county until it was time to head to the pickup, avoiding any of the known police traps to keep from having to try again another night. I kept my maps program running on my phone so I knew exactly what time it was, exactly what time I had to make my way to Butter Street. I can't imagine how difficult it was to be an urban legend hunter before our real-time GPS maps. Side note, you can play with the radio on or off. It has no impact on the hitchhiker. Radio on is preferred if you choose not to engage with him. He can get quite loud and belligerent if you don't talk to him. Interesting.
This guy's got some. This guy's got some real nerve to get in my vehicle soaking wet and then get angry when I don't want to conversate with him because he's a soaking wet stranger in my fucking passenger seat.
This is giving me similar energy to the left-right hitchhiker.
I was thinking the left-right game, and it's also giving you ever like they had like a bunch of like old like urban legends and shit. Like it's even in like the Supernatural TV show, I think, where there's like you can go to like a crossroads, and if you do some shit at the crossroads, like a demon will come or something, and they can like answer you questions or grant you a wish or something like that. That's kind of energy it's giving me.
I pulled up to the pickup spot, stopped the car, and then followed the summoning instructions. The rules posted online had small variations, but attempts that contained the following actions had the highest rate of success. 1. Leave the car on in drive, but engage the emergency brake. 2. Turn off everything in the car. 3.
Hang on. Why are we turning on the emergency brake?
That's I don't know.
Isn't that seems the most counterproductive thing I've ever heard. Isn't that not safe. Easy to just turn off?
Seems dangerous for your car too.
Isn't like an emergency brake like a you pull that thing and you gotta it's not like a little silly little we're gonna pull a stop sign emergency brake.
Yeah, like it locks up brakes completely.
This is just trying to get you to wreck your car. This is clearly just a scam. These people were on RuneScape.
Oh my god. Okay, we got 2, turn everything off but the car. Lights, AC, radio, phone. 3, unlock car doors 3 times. 4, roll down all windows. 5, press the brake pedal 3 times. 6, turn the headlights back on. 7, wait 3 minutes. If he's not there by 3:03 a.m., you did something wrong. With the lights off, I noticed a fog rolling in. Whether it was part of the ritual or not, I don't know, but it added a creepy aesthetic to waiting in the dark road at 3 a.m. for a ghostly hitchhiker. Other than the idling of my Subaru, the road was still quiet. I had even shallowed my breathing so I could listen for footsteps, giggling teenagers, other cars, but there was nothing. I never even heard the car door open. I only heard it shut. It's a bad night for rain, a voice said from the back seat. How do you like the accent?
That's good.
Is it too much?
No, I don't think so. I think it's not enough, maybe.
I felt every hair of my body stand up as a chill ran up the back of my neck. Over my stuttered breathing, I could hear the steady drip of water from his pant leg hitting his shoe. I didn't turn around, but I stole a peek in the rearview mirror. He wasn't a big guy, maybe my height. He was dressed in a white Dr. Dre, the Chronic t-shirt.
That's fucking sick.
That's awesome, dude.
I love this guy.
That is so sick. A red windbreaker and what looked like dark denim jeans. The rules said the mirror was fine as long as I didn't turn the lights on in the car. But never look him directly in the face. Not until he's out of the car and ready to answer your question. I gathered up my courage to reply back, but the words stuck in my throat. I cleared as I tried again. Is there ever a good night? A pause as I stared back in the mirror at the shape in my back seat. I held my breath waiting. Then after what felt like ages, I saw his hand slap against his wet knee as he laughed. I let out the breath I was holding in and disengaged the parking brake. Hold up, put your wipers on, champ, he said. With all that rain, you won't see the road. This is a scripted reply. Part of the game. Right, sorry. Also a scripted response. Despite his insistence on the rain, it was bone dry outside. Per the rules, I turned on my windshield wipers, setting them to their fastest setting. He settled back against the seat, laying his arm across the back window. Mind if I turn on the radio, I asked? That wasn't part of the game, but I figured it was the best way to ask and be polite. It's your ride, he said, with a smooth baritone. One request, no country, please.
Yeah, I don't think you're using the right.
It doesn't really work with the accent. We're gonna switch it up. No, we're not. He's gonna stay country.
He's staying that way. He just doesn't like country music.
He's self-loathing. He hates himself and he hates where he's from. Okay. Sure thing, I answered. I put on the local top 40 station. I pulled back onto the road just as the clock hit 3:03. I stole looks in the rearview mirror as often as I felt comfortable with, still keeping the car on the road. Luckily, this part of Butter Street was pretty straight with not a lot of traffic. From his voice and the hand tapping against the wet knee in the back seat, I could tell that he was a black man. Maybe mid-20s and dressed like he came straight from 1996. Nothing like any of the descriptions I read on Facebook about the hitchhiker. Where are you headed? I asked. This was a scripted part of the game. I'm headed to see my girl. I worked a late night shift tonight. Thought I'd pop in to surprise her. His response to this question was always different. That, coupled with the fact that the appearance of the hitchhiker seemed to shift to many, believed that he's not the same spirit every time. I pulled up at the stoplight at the end of Butter Street. Yeah, you want to make a right here? He said. I followed his orders, turning right. Other than following them, the destination and directions were irrelevant. The ride goes until 3:33, and then he tells you to pull over. So what's your story, man? He asked. A scripted prompt. But how you reply was completely up to you. Some have ignored talking to him altogether, which is apparently not recommended. Some have shared a little out of politeness. Others have talked right up until the drop-off time, filling the air with their own words. The more you talk to him, the more he talks back. It doesn't impact the game, it just makes the journey a little more interesting. Even though I'm driving a ghost, his voice is disarming, making him easy to talk to. I have a day job that pays the bills, just boring office stuff, but in my spare time I like to explore urban legends and haunted places. Going out looking for proof of life after death. Oh, damn, for real? That sounds spooky as hell. An unscripted reply. He's chill, dude.
I like this guy, yeah.
Where's Butter Street?
I don't understand why we're so upset about this guy.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
You just want to see his girl? He's wet. He's got a sick The Chronic t-shirt on.
Yeah.
He leaned forward, putting his elbows on his knees. In the rearview mirror, I could see the sleeves of his windbreaker were shredded. What's the scariest thing you've seen? Take a ride up here. Unscripted. I wanted to say, besides this, but I held my tongue. All indications from everyone who played the Hitchhiker's game say that he was unaware of his situation. He was just a passenger getting a ride to his destination. Attempts to get him to recognize his ghostly predicament did not go well, so I do not advise bringing it to his attention. I took the right as I continued my story. About 2 years ago, I was on an overnight ghost hunt at the Ohio State Reformatory. It's an old prison up in Mansfield, where they filmed Shawshank Redemption, I said. I figured if he was from the 90s, he might remember the movie. So there's a group of 6 of us on the tour, and we're all over in the administration wing. And I felt this hand press into my back, like it was guiding me forward. Oh, hell no, my ass would have been... Oh, hell no, my ass would have gone up out of there. I ain't even playing. Unscripted response.
I like how he has to say that that's an unscripted response. Yeah, I kind of figured he wasn't going to say that to everybody.
I had a feeling. Yeah, someone's like, oh, yeah, I'm just like to hang out with my dog, my cat, just hang out. Oh, hell no, my ass would have gone up out of it.
Someone's like, yeah, I work at the Kentucky Fried Chicken and the Taco Bell joint building, the Kentucky Bell, and he's like, oh, hell no.
It's about this time that I realized that all the street lights were off. Not just the lights in the streets, everything was dark. Granted, it was the middle of the night, but we drove past the Taco Bell.
That's fucking crazy. I'm a psychic. I'm so
If they mention KFC, I'm gonna tweak out.
Yeah, if KFC is in the next sentence,
We drove past the Taco Bell that was open 20 minutes ago when I passed on my way to Butter Street. Now completely dark. Not a single car in the parking lot. That's the second thing I noticed. No cars. We've driven 15 minutes without passing a single car. Not only were there no cars on the road, but there weren't any in driveways or parking lots. As we rolled up by a Ford dealership, the entire lot was empty. It seems like we'd stepped out completely into a different reality. So what did you do? Unscripted. I've got his interest, apparently. I continued the story. I turned to look and no one's behind me, but I could smell a rose-scented perfume. Apparently one of the ghosts there was the wife of the warden. She was killed when the warden's gun went off by accident. It fell out of the closet, went off, and shot her in the lung. That is crazy, man, but I can feel why she might be hanging around still. You know what I'm saying? Like she's got some unfinished business and shit. Her life was cut short. We rode in silence for a bit, for I don't know how long. I tried looking back at him in the mirror, but he hung to the shadows. Then I felt his cold breath against my neck, sending shivers up my spine. Could you imagine what it's like? He said. What do you mean? I replied, also unscripted. Having your life cut short like that to the careless act of another human being. That's pretty fucked up. Unscripted. My heart thudded against my chest. Did I mess up? Did I not follow the rules? He laughed in his back seat. I'm just playing, man. You need to relax. I felt his hands gripping my shoulders, giving them a little rub. They were cold as ice. He patted my shoulder and sat back. I felt a trickle of water go down my back and cold, wet spots on my shoulder where he grabbed me. Oh, this rat coming up. He leaned forward, pointing at the road. His skin was ashy and his thumbnail was split to the nail bed. The
Oh,
smell of sweat loam wafted into the front of the cabin. I made the turn. I peeked at the clock on my dashboard and I saw it was 3:29. Only 4 minutes to go. You got a family? He asked. Unscripted. I felt my heart leave my throat and back into my chest. We were back on script. I used to, just me now. That's tough, I know. Before my girl, I was all alone. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what I'd do if I didn't have her. Life would just be empty. Unscripted. A quiet stillness followed, like he wasn't hit by a pang of remorse. For a moment, it was so silent, I wasn't sure if he was still in my backseat. But then I felt his cold hands clap me on the shoulder. But don't worry, man. You seem like an okay dude. Going out of your way to help a young man like myself on a rainy night like this. I'm sure you'll find somebody. It just takes time. Unscripted. We rode in silence as I stole glances down at the clock on the dash. As soon as it flipped to 3:33 a.m., I heard his weight shift as he leaned up forward. Oh, this is me up here. He pointed to a spot on the road. There was nothing there. No house or driveway, not even a place to pull off. I pulled the car under the shoulder and eased to a stop. Just like when picking him up, I turned off the lights, radio, and engaged the parking brake, leaving the car in drive. You don't have to bother with the locking and unlocking 3 times business with the brake pedal. Just unlock. Also, this is very important. Don't watch him get out. Don't look at him in the rearview mirror. Don't do anything but look at your hands on the steering wheel. Keep them on the wheel 10 and 2, and wait. This time I heard the car door open and slam shut. I could also hear the sound of his shoes against the gravel as he walked down to the front of the car towards the driver's side. I wanted to look up, but I managed to fight the urge by counting the seams on the steering wheel. Thanks for the ride. Do you have a question for me? He asked, scripted. It was still his voice, but unlike our previous conversation, it was completely devoid of personality or emotion. Once you've completed the ride, you're allowed to ask him a question. It has to be something personal, but unknowable. You can't ask for lottery numbers or things like that. People have supposedly asked about locations of their heirlooms, the exact time and date of their death, the fate of lost long relatives, all sorts of personal questions that they have no way of ever knowing. For the second time that night, the words failed to leave my throat. I took a deep breath and swallowed. Is she at peace? I asked. Then, without thinking, I added, does she blame me? My words were barely above a whisper, but I know he heard me. After you ask, and only then are you allowed to look directly at him. So I did. I felt all color drain from my face as I looked up. The hitchhiker had no face at all, just 2 shiny spots where his eyes should be. He had no mouth, no nose, nothing else. Just 2 quarter-side black pools of what looked like liquid ink where his eyes should be. They reflected every star in the night sky. I couldn't look away from those eyes, even though I very much wanted to. That's 2 questions, my friend, he replied, unscripted.
I like the image of his like face just leaves and it's just like the two black eyes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It gives did you ever watch the show on Sci-Fi Channel way I think it was on Sci-Fi way long ago, Paranormal Witness?
I don't think so.
There was this episode on Paranormal Witness. It was like people like retelling like paranormal stuff that happened to them. I
Okay.
think a lot of them were maybe not true. But
No.
I didn't say that. You didn't hear me say that. You didn't hear me say that. But they like reenact them,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are really scary. One of the stories I remember so well in my brain is we could put a picture up. Is there was this person driving and they saw a little girl on the side of the road, like kind of like I think she was curled in a ball or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and when they had like they either pulled over or slowed down or something to like get her to be like, hey, are you okay, like it was the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And when the little girl like picks her head up, her face is like she doesn't like have a face. Like it's kind of like a hole where her face is, and it's like caved in inwards. And she like it's so scary, but that's like scared me so much ever
Ooh.
since. But that's the vibe it just gave me. I was gonna say we'll put a picture up
Yeah, I'll
so
throw a
everyone can see
photo.
it. It's scary.
That's horrible. I like how he said it's like reflective. You could see the stars in it. It's like glossy. That is
Yeah,
disgusting.
yeah. I would have just been looking at the Dr. Dre shirt.
I'd be like, yo, is that a single stitch?
Yo, where'd you get that? I'll give you 15
Yo,
bucks.
can I like cop that maybe?
50, 16 bones. Take it.
We can stop at Taco Bell. I'll get you a
Yeah, we
combo
can stop
box.
at the Kentucky Bell.
My heart jumped back into my throat. I broke the rules. I fucked up. I asked 2 questions. I was paralyzed staring into his face. I sat looking up at him for what felt like hours. I pulled back a little as his hands moved up towards the side of his face, just under his ears. I thought for a moment he might rip off his false face to reveal another, more terrifying one. He didn't remove his face. Instead, he pulled his hoodie up over his head, returning his empty face to the shadows. But since you were kind enough to save me from walking all this way in the rain, I'll answer you. Unscripted. Before I could exhale a sigh of relief, he gripped the doorframe and leaned down, so I was staring directly into his empty eyes. She's not at peace, and she does blame you. Jeez.
Oh
Even
my
with
god.
even with the hood up, I could still see every star in that night sky in those inky black pools. I can't fully capture what I saw in them. It was like staring at both a vast infinityness and a vast nothingness. They held everything and nothing at the same time. His eyes, they were like staring into eternity. As he stood up from the window, I let out the breath I was holding. My hands shook as I pulled them off the steering wheel. Drive safe, scripted reply. The last thing he says before he leaves. He walked away behind the car. You can watch him walk in the rearview mirror, but don't turn around or try to follow him. I watched until he disappeared into the darkness and waited until I could no longer hear his footsteps against the gravel. When I turned on my headlights, I realized I was back on Butter Street, parked on the side of the road next to the drop off for the gravel pit. This was always where you ended up after a hitchhiker leaves. All I had to do was release the parking brake and the car would roll towards the drop off, gaining speed until I launched off the cliff into a deep blue water waiting below. So is this a mission?
I think he's I mean I think he's yeah thinking about it
Hmm.
after the hitchhiker just said she's not at peace and she blames you.
Hmm.
I would guess that would be why.
But is that it's like part of the rules that you have to do this, or is he just thinking about it?
No,
You know?
I think he's just sad.
Oh, okay.
I think at least what it seems. I can't imagine that's part of the rules.
It's fair enough. Not a good response for sure.
I wonder if that's why. I wonder if all of the cars that I mentioned at the beginning of all the people that they were like, oh yeah, they just assumed, they had just crashed in there,
Mm-hmm.
but it was people not following the rules. I wonder if it wasn't not people following the rules. I wonder if it was
Or they
people
got bad
hearing an answer
answers.
they didn't like and they were like, well, we're already right here.
Water's here, man. Come on in. The
Make,
water's
make it even.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I sat there with my hands on the parking brake, contemplating his answer to my question. But then I saw them. Headlights. Our car was coming up the road toward me. The cars were back, as were the streetlights and house lights. I was back from wherever the hitchhiker took me. I locked eyes with the driver as they drove by, having one of those weird moments where time seems to slow down. It was enough to jolt back into reality. I released the parking brake and aimed my car back toward the road. I got home a little after 5 a.m. I tried to sleep, but I was too worked up from my adventure, so I called in sick. I laid in bed all day thinking about the hitchhiker, his words, and all those cars that ended up in the gravel pit on Butter Street. Maybe those cars aren't from people who played the game wrong. Maybe they all played it right, but couldn't handle
Dude,
his response to
I'm
their question.
literally a prophet. I'm so good.
It's been 3 days since I picked up the hitchhiker. I can still smell the wet loam in my car. His muddy footprints in the floorboard on my back seat were still there. As I write this, I look up from my monitor at the photo of Abigail, taken 2 weeks before she died. She's beautiful, smiling, and happy. She's not at peace, and she does blame you. It's my favorite photo of her. I think I'll take it to me when I take a drive later tonight. I'm gonna go back to the Hitchhiker. I have a hunch, and I don't know if it's relevant, but I feel it's important to share with anyone reading this that I'm wearing a gray Adidas hoodie and jeans. If somebody out there reading this picks up the Hitchhiker later on and sees something similar get into their backseat, well, then I guess we've solved part of the mystery. If you do pick up a Hitchhiker, I hope you get the answer you're searching for. As I look outside, the skies are cloudy, but I hope the weather holds up for the driver later. It's a bad night for rain.
Huh.
So everybody that themselves becomes one of the hitchhikers.
Becomes, yeah, the hitchhiker. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
It's a good story. I really like that.
That was good, yeah. I look, I'm saying this guy doesn't need to discourage people from doing this. Just ask good questions and you'll be fine.
Yeah, ask something like nice, like
ask something silly.
Like, hey, will I ever hey, will I have where could I get a dog that would be my best friend and we'd have a really good bond? Or like,
yeah, like
where's a good taco spot around here?
Where am I destined to find a pet chinchilla? Like,
yeah, just ask it chill shit.
I would just go hang out with this guy. Like, yeah. I don't even gotta ask him a fucking question. He's gonna be like, you have a question for me? I'd be like, no.
Like, how much money are you saving on contacts these days?
Where's the cheapest place to get car insurance, really?
It's pretty just garlic bread recommendations. Favorite beer, maybe.
How do they what's the secret ingredient in the Krabby Patty?
What's up with them woman folk?
The knitting and such. Yeah, you just gotta ask him what the answer to like the stories are.
Yes.
You gotta be like, hey, so what's the deal with that painting? You know, what the hell is going on with that?
I wonder where the closest Butter Street is to me.
Probably not far. I feel like that's a generic ass name.
Let's see. Oh my god, if you look up Butter Street, it pops up Ohio. And the store is in Ohio.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is horrifying. I think if this video gets 100,000 likes, we have to drive to Ohio. It's right north of Cincinnati. We'll drive to Ohio and try to redo this story.
Well, they also said that they changed some of the rules, so we might have to do it a couple of times if we do it.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
Really
we'll do some research.
With the rules. Yeah.
Okay.
I do like it. It did feel very.
Oh my god, dude!
What?
There's a Taco Bell right next to it. It shows a taco.
Yo, shut your mouth. Are you fucking serious?
Let me send you the link. Oh my god.
Oh my god. That's fucked.
Yeah. This gets 100,000 likes. We're going to Butter Street. Nick, I know you're watching. You're coming too. Jordan, you're dead. You already called that phone number. You're done. Nick,
you're coming with.
You're coming with. All right.
We're going to the Taco Bell.
Thank you for watching this video. We're going to Butter Street. Please don't. Okay. I think that we can go by now. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.